Fahrenheit 451 is a dystopian novel by Ray Bradbury, published back in the 1953. The title itself tells you something important directly already. 451 degrees Fahrenheit is the exact temperature where paper catches fire and burns. Now, here's the twist. In this world, firefighters don't put out fires. They actually start them. Their job is to burn books. Why? Because the government has outlawed them. They're terrified of what happens when people start thinking of themselves. But here's the thing, Bradbury wasn't just warning about us about the government banning books. He was also warning us about something even scarier, the way we distract ourselves to death. In this society, everyone walks around these seashell radios stuck in their ears, basically early AirPods and giant TV screens covering their walls. They're constantly entertained, constantly distracted, and constantly numbed. They never have to sit with their own thoughts. And that's the point. Books are dangerous because they make you think. They make you question things. They make you uncomfortable. And in this world, thinking is a ultimate crime. So they burn the books and they keep everyone happy and dumb. Now, the passage I'm going to read about comes from the part two of the book called The Thief and the Sand. Um, the main character, Montag, is a fireman who has started to question everything. He's secretly stolen a Bible and he is desperate to memorize it before it gets destroyed. In this scene of the act, he's on the subway train trying to read, but there's a problem. Um, Montag got on the subway. He had a book in his hands, a tiny Bible, the pages thin as onion skin, the leather covered, cracked and worn with age. He held it tight against his chest, feeling the fragile paper between his trembling fingers. The train roared through the tunnels, a great metal best shaking the darkness, rattling the bones of everyone inside. He tried to read. He needed to read. But the train was filled with a terrible sound. It was the advertisement for Denham's dentrifies. It roared, it screamed, it shrieked. It was not just a single, it was an assault. Denham's dentrifies! Denham's dentrifies! Denham's dentrifies! It was everywhere. It was in his ears, vibrating in his bones, pounding against his skull like a hammer. The speakers were mounted every few feet, blasting the same mindless, relentless chants. The people around him sat with their eyes glazed over, their seashell radios humming against their ears, nodding in a perfect synchronization to the rhythm of the chimerical jingle. They were happy. They were blissfully, terrifyingly numb. Montag squeezed his eyes shut so tightly that he saw stars. He pressed his palms against his temples. He had to shut it out. He had to memorize this book. Every word, every verse. Because if he didn't, the world would burn it forever. He had to hold on to something real. And then, unbidden, a childhood memory surfaced. He was a boy again, standing in the kitchen, holding a sieve, a metal strainer, while his grandfather poured sand into it from a paper bag. Fill it up, Montag. His grandfather had said it with a patient smile. And Montag tried. He poured faster and faster, but the sand ran through the holes like water. It was impossible. The faster he poured, the more the sand escaped. He was left with nothing but dust on his fingers and the hollow sound of grains falling to the floor. And now, here he was, history repeating itself. His mind was deceived. The beautiful ancient word of escalates were the sand. And the advertisement, the screaming, meaningless noise of the train, was the wind, blowing the sand straight out of his head before he could even catch it. He read aloud, his voice barely audible above the roar. To everything there is a reason, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. But the train roared louder, the speakers struck in trumpet. The voices of the announcers, tiny, cheerful, utterly soulless, drowned out the prophets. Denham centrifies! It whitens your teeth! It refreshes your brain! For breath, Denham centrifies! He tried again. He forced the words out. A time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. But it was useless. The chimerical was a battering ram. It was the wall of noise. The ancient poetry of the Bible was no match for the industrial grade cheerfulness of a toothpaste jingle. He could feel the words slipping away, dissolving like sugar in the water. Montague clutched his head. He couldn't hold it. The poetry was escaping, the wisdom of the thousands of years, the collected grief and joy and hope of humanity was slipping away of years. Yet he cannot hold onto them because a relentless, soulless advertisement for toothpaste strikes in his ears. The chimerical is not just annoying, it is an assault on consciousness. It fills every space, every silence, every moment of reflection. So, why did I choose this passage? Because for me, it comes down to one lesson after this passage. Distraction is dangerous. Montag is on a train, desperately trying to memorize the Bible. He's holding ancient wisdom in his hands, but he can't hold on to it because a mindless toothpaste chimerical is screaming in his ears. The metaphor is heartbreaking. He remembers trying to fill a sieve with sand as a kid, no matter how fast he poured. The sand slipped through the holes, and now his mind is that sieve. The star's words are the sand, and the ad is the wind, blowing everything away. So this passage shows the nightmare version of what I argued against my advocate from my speech later, a world where technology has won, where human connection is gone, where ancient wisdom can't compete with a toothpaste jingle. So after reading this passage, it made me ask myself, question myself, what am I letting slip through my own sheath? Thank you.